This is the Celiac Project, two guys talking gluten-free. Just wanted to give a little disclaimer. We are not medical experts, doctors, dietitians,
Nurses.
bone experts, surgeons.
We're only experts at being celiac patients.
So enjoy the show. And if you're going to do any changes to your diet or need real medical advice, please go to the medical professionals.
That's what they're there for. We have an amazing treat for you. If you want to listen and watch this week's episode, you can go to youtube.com/@celiacproject and watch it there.
If you prefer, you can listen as you usually do. We hope to have some of our future shows on video as they are available, so look for that as well. Now let's get to the show.
Sounds good.
Today's episode of the Celiac Project podcast is sponsored by Taste Republic, who believes everyone deserves to eat good, fresh pasta, no matter their dietary restrictions. All of Taste Republic's pastas are certified gluten-free and beloved for not sacrificing taste or texture. With fan favorites such as 4-cheese tortelloni and cauliflower linguine, Taste Republic has a wide range of pastas to choose from. Find Taste Republic at retailers such as Whole Foods Market, Publix, Sprouts, Meijer, H-E-B, or online at tasterepublic.com. You found the Celiac Project podcast, two guys talking gluten-free. I'm Mike.
And I'm Cam.
And who's joining us on the podcast today, Cam?
One of our favorite guests, the Gluten-Free Globetrotter, Erin Smith.
Yeah, Erin joins us to talk holiday travel, some holiday party tips, and more. Let's get to the show.
Sounds good.
Cam and I are so excited to be joined by one of our favorite people, one of our favorite guests of all time. You know her as Gluten-Free Globetrotter, the great Erin Smith. How are you today, Erin?
Hi, guys. Good to see you. I'm great.
Nice to have you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's good to see you both.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on the podcast. I know we want to get today into some holiday tips, some travel tips, see what else comes up. And I know since it's been a while and you've had so many changes, and I know almost all of our listeners, if not all of them, know who you are, but maybe for the one or two out there who need a refresher, can you just give a little bit of your bio and maybe what you've been up to the last few years or so?
Sure. So I am the founder of Gluten-Free Globetrotter, a website that talks about living with celiac disease and traveling the world. I've been living with celiac disease for more than 40 years now, so it's my whole life. I am a New Yorker, but I moved to Canada last year. So now I'm living in Montreal, Quebec, and I am, still exploring Canada and the gluten-free scene up here in Montreal, but I still have very close ties to New York. So you'll find content on my website about New York all around the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're a wealth of knowledge and you are the original OG of the gluten-free world.
Definitely.
We appreciate you. And I also want to tell people we've had so many wonderful podcasts with Erin as, if not our most frequent guest. She's been on so many times. And I always think of, we did this amazing, you came up with a list of gluten-free terms that were like offensive or not.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Not acceptable to certain degrees. And we did like a Sweet 16 and all that.
Yeah.
So go back in our archives and check those out.
Gluten-friendly was in there, I think.
Gluten-friendly, yeah.
All our friends. And I think Cam had a question for you as we move on from that.
Yeah, I was curious, are you going to be doing the holidays up in Quebec or do you come back down to the States? What is your holiday plans this year?
Yeah, so this year for Christmas, we're actually hopefully going to Mexico. My mother-in-law lives in Mexico, so that is our plan as of now. We are very much last-minute travel planners, and we should have booked our tickets months ago because, holidays are not cheap. But yeah, as of now, we're going to Mexico for Christmas. This will actually be the second time we've celebrated Christmas in Mexico.
Very cool.
Yeah,
That'll be fun. So we're excited to have you on always, and maybe wanted to focus a little bit of our talk about the holidays and maybe some holiday travel, as I said. And obviously, the holidays can bring out stress in everyone. And those of us who have celiac or a gluten intolerance, it's extra special, right? Because there's so many events focused around food and being social, do you have any general top holiday tips? They can be travel or otherwise, like when you get together, any of your top tips. I know you speak to groups and you compile so many great tips that are helpful. Anything in your general tip toolbox that you could share today?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I stay in the States or I'm with my family in North America, US, so many of us have celiac in my family. So it's actually gotten easier over the years. The more people that get diagnosed, the more gluten-free we have available to us. So in the US, I don't worry about it as much. If we're with my sister, she has celiac. If we're with my cousins, they have celiac. So it's actually not so hard anymore. But when I travel, I mean, there's so many complications, like travel hiccups and long travel days. So, like, my top tip, no matter what time of year it is, but especially during the holidays, is to pack food, and pack it in your carry on. I always like to have at least 24 hours of food with me on my person when I'm traveling, because you never know when you're going to get stuck at an airport. Airports are getting slightly better, but I find that it's mostly better in the packaged goods area. There are more options. I know now, like at LaGuardia, the new terminal has a whole gluten-free section in one of their shops, which is great. That never existed before, but like you can't survive on chips and beef jerky alone. So, I always pack multiple sandwiches. I'll pack hard-boiled eggs. And I probably said this on a past podcast. That's the kind of food you want to eat in the airport and not on the plane, because it's pretty smelly and you don't want to offend the people around you. But I like to have a balance of snacks and protein because I think it's really important. You don't want to be hungry when you're traveling. For us to go to Mexico from Montreal, there could be up to 2 different layovers. So that's a lot of travel in a day, a lot of possibility of not finding any food in airports. So I'm always going to bring food with me, no matter where I'm traveling to.
Those are really good tips because as you were saying that, I realized I was trapped before I was diagnosed, I think almost 24 hours in actually Mexico City airport. So it's a really smart thing to have the 24 hours or so worth of extra food on you, because you never know when those delays, especially, I know travel has been really extra stressful recently.
Right. And also, there are a lot of chain restaurants in airports, but that doesn't mean that chain has the same protocols as outside of the airport. Airport food and beverage service is a lot different than the real world, so to say. So I would say it's safer to not rely on airport food than to say, you're going to get a meal. That said, I have had to rely on airport food in the past, and you just have to be really careful, especially if you're about to get on an airplane. You don't want to be sick on that airplane.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And those are great tips. And out of all of the foods that you normally bring with you, which one of them is like your go-to comfort food item?
Honestly, sandwiches. I mean, I always bring sandwiches with me. And even if I don't eat them in travel, I'll then have sandwiches available when I land wherever I am. Yeah, I mean, sandwiches and chips. It's the comfort food.
What do you put on your sandwich?
So one tip I will say is that I usually make my sandwich on frozen bread. So the bread is really cold, and that could act as just to keep food cold, because sometimes they'll take away your ice pack. I've actually had that happen here in Canada, never anywhere else, but they've taken away my ice pack before, saying that it was liquid, even though it's frozen. Yeah, so on my sandwiches, I mean, turkey, cheese, ham, whatever we have, I'll put that on there. And then I would say most of the time, the frozen bread works pretty well. When I'm traveling from the US, I haven't had any issues with the ice pack. So I'm more likely to, bring more things that need refrigeration if I have that ice pack available.
Definitely, definitely. And then as far as like the holiday food items go, festive wise, do you have anything in that category that's your favorite around this time of year?
I mean, I love a good charcuterie, like some meat and cheese and fruit. I love that. But yeah, I mean, I love Christmas cookies too. I grew up baking a lot of Christmas cookies. So that is another thing that I look forward to. And I do the baking. So bringing cookies with me wherever I'm going, and cookies that can easily transport, in a tin or whatever it is. So
That's perfect. And those are some really good tips, definitely for traveling too. You can bring all of those sort of things as well.
Sure.
Thank you for all those tips. I love the frozen bread tip for sandwiches when you're traveling. Lately, I've been using Char's ciabatta, and they have stood up to like a day's travel sometimes. Like I go to all these softball tournaments, and if you're not going the frozen route, those can be good because they feel edible without having to be toasted sometimes. So just that's a tip as well. But pivoting a little bit to, I know because you've had so much experience having celiac disease, and as you mentioned, a lot of your family either has it or knows about it, and the family stuff is easier. How do you deal with, I know a lot of our listeners are going to parties this time of year, and, you know, Cam and I have our own recent awkward situations around food and the holidays. How do you approach the hosts when you're going to an event about this without being like, without seeming that you're too high maintenance?
Right. I mean, my number one tip is always eat ahead of time. And I know that sounds like a cop out, but really, I mean, to keep yourself safe in an unknown environment, you just have to think ahead. I would also say, kind of depending on the situation, like if you're planning a friend's dinner or, like a friendsgiving, so to say, if you're choosing a restaurant, make the suggestions. Be like, hey, let's try this one. Or, I mean, it's hard enough to get your friends all in the same place at the same time, but you could take the initiative to be the one recommending the restaurant, a restaurant that you're comfortable with. Then you could be in charge of making the reservations, speaking to the restaurant. But if you're going to a party and maybe it's a colleague that you're not so comfortable, talking to about your food, I would mention it. I don't think there's any harm in mentioning it. If you're a +1, it's a little more difficult. I actually had a situation last week. We were going out with some of my husband's colleagues, and they made some recommendations in restaurants. And I was like, yeah, none of these are going to work for me. It turns out someone else there also had food allergies. So I wasn't the only one kind of, complaining, so to say. But I took the initiative there, and I wasn't shy about having my husband tell his colleagues that, my wife has food restrictions. Funny enough, they wanted to go to a seafood place, and I have a shellfish allergy, and most of the menu had shellfish. So I was like, yeah, this is not going to work for me. Even more than gluten, the shellfish can kill me. So yeah, I mean, I would say speak up, don't be afraid to ask. When you're there, use your judgment. A lot of parties tend to be potluck or kind of dishes that are out. Maybe talk to the host a little bit separately. Like, do you have anything that hasn't been touched yet, that I could eat? And I mean, there's always the bringing of bars and having bars in your pocket, that you could eat, like little protein bars or something. But I think, and I could say this because I've been celiac for so long, it's like you have to speak up for yourself. And I know it takes a lot to like gain that courage, but ultimately it's your health and you need to protect yourself. And one thing I will say absolutely not is like, don't eat to be nice, because, it's better to say, thank you, but I cannot eat this because of celiac. It's better to say that than to be like, yeah, I'll just try a little and then wind up sick. I mean, we all know how awful we feel after consuming gluten, and it's like not even worth the risk, especially if you're traveling for the holidays, especially if you're far from home. Like, you just don't want to put yourself in that situation. So I would say don't take any risks just to be nice. It's just not worth it.
You got me thinking over here. I was so deep in thought thinking about all those instances that I can relate to. And yeah, those are some really good tips there. Hey, Mike, I wanted to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Taste Republic. Taste Republic was founded with a singular purpose, and it's one that they have not swayed from: producing high-quality, fresh, gluten-free pastas.
Yeah, Cam, and what's really cool was how it all started. One of the Taste Republic co-founders was selling traditional pasta at the local farmer's market, had a loyal customer diagnosed with celiac disease, and was upset that they could no longer eat the pasta.
And with that as the driving force, he set out to develop a recipe that was gluten-free, yet matched the taste and texture of traditional pastas.
Yeah, and the wild part is that Taste Republic really pulled it off. They still operate under the idea that everyone deserves to eat good pasta no matter their dietary needs. They continue to develop some of the best gluten-free pastas available, like their famed 4-cheese tortelloni.
The best part is you can find your favorite Taste Republic bag of 4-cheese tortelloni or spinach and cheese tortelloni at retailers such as Meijer, Publix, and Target.
Check out all their delicious pastas at tasterepublic.com, where you can use their convenient store locator to find them locally or purchase online. Now let's get back to the show.
Sounds good.
I want to segue back to kind of the travel stuff again. Is the travel tougher for you this year than any other time of the year? And is it just because it's busy, or is there any other unique challenges outside of the holiday aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically with us going to Mexico, there's still not as much understanding. So when we do socialize with our friends in Mexico, there's not always something for me to eat. And my husband's friends and family have gotten better. They've learned more over the years just because I'm there. But when we are staying with my mother-in-law, we'll kind of control the grocery shopping for the week so that I'm the one doing all of the shopping for the house. I'm the one that's helping them kind of figure out what our holiday meal will be. I'm lucky that so much Mexican cuisine is naturally gluten-free, but there are things like sauces and bouillon and things like that that are added in that I really have to pay attention to. But, I familiarized myself with the brands over the years. I'm lucky because my husband is my translator, but I also do use translation cards. But parties in foreign countries, I would say, are difficult because, there isn't always the understanding. But again, like I'd rather eat at home before than to take the risk when I'm at a big party. But we usually, when we travel to see family in Mexico, we have access to a kitchen. So then I'm able to kind of control. But I would never go to Mexico assuming people will just cater to me. I mean, I don't go anywhere, in the US or Canada, assuming people will cater to me. I need to look out for myself. But there are steps I'll take. I always search ahead of time if there are any new restaurants where I'm going, because we do dine out as well in foreign countries. So it's doing that research ahead of time. But I think with this particular holiday travel, it's comforting for me that we have access to a kitchen. We'll have full access to a kitchen the whole time we're there. So
Yeah, and is that normally how you pick your spots to, if you weren't going to be staying with family or going somewhere that you already know is safe? Is it all about finding somewhere where you're going to be able to cook for yourself?
sometimes, I mean, our last trip we were at a resort, but I did research ahead of time to kind of figure out which resort could accommodate. But yeah, I would say it's 50-50, traveling to places with a kitchen or staying in a hotel. So it's just a matter of doing the research ahead of time and really getting to know what's available, preparing with buying the translation cards if I'm going to a foreign country, and really just making a list of places to eat. And this goes for anywhere. Like if I'm traveling to a new city in the US, it's like, where can I get gluten-free food along the way?
Right. And I think that's all great advice. I like something that you said a little earlier, which is that I think people can maybe use as a really good tip. When you're invited, a lot of us travel and are with friends and family out of town during the holidays. And I love what you're saying, Erin, that you take an active part in the process of buying the foods and cooking the foods. It can be a way, I think, to educate the people that you're with, and hopefully they're open to it. I know at this time of year, I know a lot of people, you might have an aunt or an uncle or someone who's very controlling about, like, we do it this way and we make our turkey this way and this and that. But I think people are generally very open to learning and want to make sure everybody gets their needs met. And I think that's a really excellent way to be part of the process and everything. So I think that's a great reminder to people as well, because I know it can be awkward, going into these situations. So all that is very helpful. You also mentioned traveling, that you use translation cards in Mexico. Are there any latest, I know we all love the Find Me Gluten-Free app. Are there any latest bits of technology or anything else that you've found for travel that have been really helpful, indispensable tools for you that you found recently?
I mean, I kind of go to the tried and true, like, I use Find Me Gluten-Free, I use the translation cards. I always look to see if there are any new bloggers or Instagram accounts that are local, I think getting tips from locals, that's the way to go because those people are living in that city, living that life. I will say one thing that I kind of feel is something to look out for is these apps that rely on AI, because I do think some of the AI recommendations that are coming out are kind of dangerous to the people with celiac. They're pulling information, scraping websites, and, the tool might see the word gluten-free and say, yes, this is a gluten-free restaurant. So of the new apps that are coming out, I'm seeing that more and more, and I'm getting a little bit nervous. But I will say, besides Find Me Gluten-Free, different countries have their own app. For example, Italy, Spain, and relying on those like National Celiac Association apps and websites. That's been a great resource for me when I travel abroad because they're by accredited national organization. I will say also, just kind of, traveling within the US, that local support groups are often a great resource. And so, for example, you guys are in Chicago. Chicago puts together a restaurant list or a resource list or any of the other local support groups. It's like reaching out to them and saying, hey, do you have a local list? Because they're providing it for their members. And I think that they're more than happy to share that with others. I mean, that's one of the first things I did when I moved here to Quebec was reach out to the local chapters and say, hey, can you provide me some resources? And that's kind of where I started my research.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I mean, I think this community is so helpful to each other. There's also at times different areas have Facebook groups that are gluten-free.
Right.
So that's another great resource. But yeah, I find anytime you reach out to someone, and I think it's really helpful to find the people who are active in their community because they're going to give you the best information. I'm so glad you brought up that we're getting really used to getting information quickly and not to, completely dismiss AI can be very helpful, but like you're saying, it's aggregating a bunch of stuff and it can make mistakes. So
Yes.
don't just trust that as the gospel. Like, okay, this is going to be safe for me as a celiac. So thank you for bringing up that as well.
Yeah. And I do think there are some cool tools, like especially in the travel space that kind of help you plan your itineraries and stuff. But I still think that, given that this is our health, that we need to double and triple check in any recommendations that are coming through any source, even Find Me Gluten-Free, because there are outdated reviews and things change. I mean, in New York City, restaurants change all the time. And, I'm thinking there's a gluten-free restaurant that recently just switched to a different menu, different name of restaurant. It's not gluten-free anymore. So it's like people are going to that location. They're like, wait a second, this used to be a gluten-free restaurant, but and it literally changed overnight. And so I think just being aware and always remembering to not let your guard down. And I know we want to eat on the go. I know, I get it. Like I do too, but you have to just kind of get into the practice of asking questions and doing that research and, following up just to protect yourself.
Definitely. Those are solid tips. I know an exact situation that happened here too, where there was a Mexican restaurant. It is a chain, but it's not a chain. They have like 2 or 3 locations. And I walked in one day and the menus looked completely different. And I was like, oh, that's strange. And then I was like, hey, so I noticed this one item that I normally get isn't on here anymore. And you guys changed the menus. What happened? And they're like, oh, it's new management and like new ownership. And then I looked at the menu too and I was like, oh, I also noticed that you only have one item marked gluten-free. And they're like, oh, yeah, but we can still do it gluten-free. And I think that's because the staff was still the same staff. But then as the new management had rollover into new staff, I started getting sick there and I stopped going. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And yes, so it's a great example or a reminder to double check and make sure it's updated too.
Yeah. I mean, there's some places that I really like in the city we go to in Mexico, but I'll always check again. I haven't been back to that city in a few years now. So it'll be making sure that they still can cook gluten-free for me and that they're safe. We're kind of lucky when we go there. We're in a large city and the surrounding areas are pretty touristy. So there are options. I'm not at a resort, but the options are getting better. But it reminds me I should start doing my research now because Christmas is coming and we're going to be there soon.
Erin, I know we're getting close to the end of our time together. Are there any other holiday or travel tips that you think would be helpful for people to hear that we haven't gone over today. I love that you said that like LaGuardia, you notice has a gluten-free section.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But anything that we haven't hit on that you think people would benefit from hearing?
Yeah, I think in airports now, I am seeing more options. I'm seeing, I forget what they're called, but there are these salad vending machines now. And so, like that, I'm seeing more often in airports. And I do think there are options way more than 10 years ago, for sure. Like, LaGuardia and JFK are where I fly in and out of the most. And both of them have really come a long way. But I will say, besides packing food for your travel day, also pack food for wherever you're going. Or, one thing I've done and I've suggested in the past, if you are going to someone's house, send food to their house, place an order on like Walmart.com or something. And I know Walmart has actually like launched a like gluten-free Thanksgiving menu where you can just put everything in the cart, but like send that to the destination you're going. So then you don't have to travel with that, and like when you get there, you have your box of food waiting for you. I think that's a great tip. And even sending stuff to like a hotel. One thing I actually did back in the summer, I was traveling to visit some family in Wisconsin. And now that I'm in Canada, there's a lot of US products that I can't get anymore. But I made a big Amazon order and shipped it to the Amazon locker so that I could have that food waiting for me when I got to Wisconsin, and then I could bring it home with me to Canada. So I think, you have to think outside of the box. I've done that before in San Diego too, where I shipped food. I ordered ahead of time from Whole Foods. So I had an order waiting for me of gluten-free food when I arrived in that city.
I feel like I have to say that's the New Yorker in you.
Yes.
That's totally like how a New Yorker thinks and processes moving things around. It's so funny.
Well, and it's just the convenience factor, right? Like we always are on the go. So it's like, let's order our groceries online and it'll be there waiting for us when we need to pick it up.
I love it.
Yeah, and you're really scrappy. It's like you've developed these tools being a New Yorker and having celiac for so long. That's why it's so great to have you on this time of year to talk about these tips, because you do think outside the box. And before I have you share with our listeners how they can connect with you and find you, can you share with us? I know, as you say, you have a lot of gluten-free people in your family. Do you have a favorite holiday tradition that you can share with us today?
Not really. I mean, really, I'm thinking over the years, and it's really like gotten so much easier at our holidays because like when I have holidays with my sister, more of us are gluten-free or non-celiac, gluten sensitivity or celiac than the people who eat gluten. So by the pure outnumbering the gluten eaters, we just make everything gluten-free. So for me, that's been really nice over the years, is to kind of gather my tribe together and say, hey, we outnumber everyone else. Let's just do it the easy way, which is all gluten-free. But, like I said earlier, I love making Christmas cookies. And that is a nice tradition that I like to do with my family. And I want to start doing with my son. And so, I mean, I think food is such a big part of the holidays, but it shouldn't be stressful. You should try to find ways to like incorporate still your traditions, your special dishes, but just modify it to be gluten-free.
100%. That's really great advice. And hopefully we can all break bread together soon. It's just been too long since we've seen you in person. Can you, Erin, can you share with everyone? I know most everyone knows how to find you, but maybe share it for those few who don't.
Sure. So my website is glutenfreeglobetrotter.com. I will fully admit it has not been updated recently, although I do keep my New York City listings updated every single month. So that's updated. But I'm most active on Gluten-Free Globetrotter on Instagram. I also send out a monthly newsletter that you can find on my website or my Instagram. So that's where I'm most active right now. But, my DMs are open. If you want to slide into my DMs and ask me questions, I'm pretty much an open book. It's been my whole life that I've been living like this. So I have nothing to hide.
We love it.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much, Erin. So great talking to you today. Travel safely. Have the most wonderful holiday season. Wishing you and your family all the best.
Thank you. Same to you
Likewise.
both. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's show. If you like the podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to the podcast. This will help other people find the show. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.